It's the Full Court Press with Eric Franson and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews.
There's going to be much higher expectations, sense of awareness of what we bring to the table.
Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Throws, ends up, yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Welcome back, Hour 2 of the Full Court Press. Jason Walker here with our guest host, Jacob Nielsen, filling in for Eric Franson, who's off, and he's off complaining about his flights, apparently. But Napa Auto Parts, they sponsor the Above the Noise from Dan Patrick that you heard just moments ago. Get yourself prepared for the winter. You can get help from any of these locally owned Napa Auto Parts. Antifreeze, fuel stabilizer, ice melt, Rain-X and Trico silicone wiper blades, Napa Legend and Legend Premium batteries, all available at your locally owned Napa Auto Parts. So we were closing off the end of last hour, and it caused us to go long on some of our segments, and so we had a quick turnaround at the end of the hour. But we were talking about the lawsuit that was filed against Utah State. We won't spend too much more time on this. We do have a couple of texts that I want to read and get some of your guys' thoughts on that. And anyone can text in on this or any of the other topics we're talking about at 435-339-0321. Always appreciate your input, and we've gotten quite a few texts today. I lost the paper that had all the lawsuit stuff written on it. The article that I printed out. But yeah, so one of the texts we had from 4781. Pretty long text said, "To me as an outsider, this Maddox guy seems to be someone who feels he should have gotten more playing time, and he's looking for ways to get other compensation by this. If there was bullying going on back then and the coaches didn't do anything, file a police report. I'm sure as an adult that whatever was happening to him was probably illegal. Be an adult and act like one. Don't expect others to fix your problem. Just my opinion." And then he also added, "Why wait until now to do all this?" It is worth noting that Maddox stands to gain financially from this lawsuit. It must be noted. Ascribing his entire motive to compensation is quite the accusation, and obviously 4781 isn't the only person to have this opinion. I've seen it around in the short time that we've had to react to this. And granted, lawsuits have been made for financial reasons. I certainly don't hope that's the reason. Of course, the problem is you either have to hope that he's just going for money, or the other possibility, I guess there's other possibilities. One of the biggest other possibilities is that he's not lying and all this terrible stuff has happened. It's why these situations are hard, because you have to hope that something bad has happened. You're either hoping that one guy's lying or that the other people are awful. It's never a good situation. And I don't want to place accusations on either side. At this point, we just have to, it's our job as the news to report that this stuff is happening. This is how it is. Try not to take sides, try not to point fingers until we have the whole story. And at this point, we've seen the one side. We'll see what the other side has to say. 9315, he also texts in on the subject. He says, I hope nobody goes the route with it on USU as guilty until proven innocent. And he hopes that then waits until we have all the facts. He says, we can see where guilty until innocent got people with the BYU volleyball thing. And I certainly jumped too quick on BYU with that volleyball thing. I basically had to issue an apology on air and I had to learn my lesson in that case because I jumped on it too quickly. I mean, this is another case where we've seen some pretty damning accusations. Let's wait. Wait and see. And one thing, when it comes to a lot of things, there's a whole talk about Me Too and sexual assault and things like that. A lot of people, they talk about believing. And I'm going to try not to open that can of worms. But for me, when it comes to something like this, don't ignore either way. Take it seriously. That's why I say take it seriously, and let's get to the bottom of this.
I think the absolute most important thing, and I would say that people at Utah State feel the same way about this is the safety of the student body and the safety of people that attend the school and in the Cache Valley. And so with stuff like this, the root of this, it's more about how Patrick Maddox was treated by releasing those tapes, right, from the private meeting that happened back in August. But the genesis of all this is issues that have happened, and he feels like there's a culture with the football team that is inappropriate, right? And so when we're talking about things like this that actually have legitimate impact on individuals' lives, it absolutely has to be taken very, very seriously. And I think that from my time, we've both worked for the university in the past in a facet, working for their student media and stuff. And I would say I do believe that the university does care about this and does care about the safety of their students. In times at the university, I've had to take several different courses about this to work for the university. I've had to. Now, how are they going to handle yet another chapter in this whole issue that's ongoing? We shall see. But no, it's big news up on the hill in the Cache Valley today.
And you mentioned both of us have worked with the university, and the people, you're right, the people we have worked with have cared. You know, that's been our experience, is the people at the university do care. The worry is, does everyone care? And I guess maybe that's the trick we're running with, is we work with wonderful people at the university who care about all these things, professors and things like that, but, it only takes a few people, I guess, in this case. One more text, then we're going to move on to some different Utah State stuff. 4781, he texts in, again, he says, the other thing I find it hard to believe is when Maddox says that Anderson said that he made a mistake and the players could punish him as they see fit. For some who has lost his kid to suicide, I find it hard that Anderson would be the ringleader of the bullying. Don't get me wrong, if this is all true, I hope he wins. But to me, I feel like it's a little bit of a money grab. And it is tricky just trying to balance all these allegations. Are they true? Are they not? And so it's like, we try to theorize, and it's hard. We try and balance it between allegations we've seen in the past. We try and balance it with what me and you know about Blake Anderson, the stuff because we've both had conversations with him. And the impression I've got is that Anderson is a good man. But we don't know Anderson the person fully. We don't know his, who he really is. We just have an impression of him. So it can be really tricky.
I would say read the story. A lot of things like this, people read headlines, they hear things. Sit down, the Salt Lake Tribune, the story that was published today, sit down and read it. It's kind of long, but it's worthwhile.
Yeah, so 2951, he's texting in, he's asking what we're covering. I'm sorry, I mentioned at the top of the hour, obviously just tuning in, obviously you wouldn't know. So it's about the lawsuit filed against Utah State by a former football player, Patrick Maddox. He's a former linebacker, or technically striker is the position at Utah State, their terminology. He filed the lawsuit. Basically, he was the one who leaked the audio file right before the LA Bowl last year, the one that was... it had a recording of a meeting that Utah State had in 2021. They were talking about sexual assault and just various different things, basically a training, in a way, for the Utah State football players and different things. The same kind of training that a lot of Utah State students and staff go through. Just making sure that, rape doesn't happen. So that, and Maddox alleged that he alleged a lot of things, but the long and short of it being that he was basically bullied into quitting the team, and that the coaching staff and administration didn't help him. And you can read the whole article. The Salt Lake Tribune published it around noon today, so you can go and check that out. Keep getting texts on this. I know we want to move on to some things, but this is a big topic, and it's something that kind of does need to be discussed. 4781, he's had a lot to say on this topic. Says the other thing is if it was this bad, why would he be the only one speaking up? Nowadays, you get a lot of people backing people up instantly. Has there been anyone to do that? Asking because I honestly don't know. And so, a few things with 4781. One thing he said earlier in a text was, he's trying to, talking about filing a police report, and Maddox alleges that he tried to get it done by asking for help from the administration, but they didn't help him. The coaches didn't help him. And then with this, as far as speaking up, well, one of the allegations he mentions in the story, or at least one of the things he mentioned, it wasn't necessarily an allegation, he said that there were other players who texted him after he left saying, they were kind of grateful that he stood up. And those players felt like they couldn't say anything. Again, that's the allegation that Maddox is making. He's saying there are people still in the locker room who were kind of, on his side, but felt they couldn't step forward. And so in that way, he's alleging a toxic environment where nobody can stand up to this alleged, bullying people who took Maddox's side and that he leaked the audio. So, again, it's a complex situation, and I hope a lot of these things aren't true. But that also does mean I'm hoping a man is a liar, and I don't like hoping that about anybody.
Yeah, I think further investigation from the legal side of things will be taken care of. Obviously, there is a lawsuit, but then also from the media, to really get the full story on this, we need to obviously hear Blake Anderson's side of the story and the universities, but also I think it would be worth reaching out to other players anonymously. And if the entire team does not back Patrick Maddox, or they do, that says something as well. So that's something to keep an eye out for, is who's going to open up about things, and that could really give us intel into really what has happened in regards to this situation that happened over the offseason.
Yeah, so if things start to leak, then it could certainly get ugly. Because corroboration of these, like I said, right now it's a one-sided story, and so that's why I can't really make any definitive statements on these. I just have to say, well, this is the situation. This is how it is. We'll see how it goes. That's how the Tribune, put it too. These are allegations.
I will say, the Tribune, one of the things they do is they ask the university for comment, and they don't receive a comment. But it was interesting. They said, we reached out to the university on Thursday for comment.
Yeah, they really should have. This article wasn't written today.
This has been taking months and months to get put together, and I understand the journalistic process. You don't want to leak that you're going to drop something, but reaching out Thursday morning, hey, we're going to drop this, and then going forward with it at noon, if that's not for something like this, that's not really a fair time to say, hey, we'll offer your side of the story as well. So
yeah, it is hard, because this afternoon I reached out to the university, sports information, and that was like 3 hours ago. They haven't gotten back to me, but that's kind of understandable. I'm
sure you're first on their list.
I know. They're definitely going to respond to me. They respond quick at other points, but for something like this, they have to. Again, they're dealing with a PR nightmare right now. So, a few more texts. 9 through and 5 texting on this is, how come Maddox didn't transfer to a different school? Because I believe he's actually still at Utah State. I think he's still finishing his degree. I think. I'm not 100% sure, but it seemed like that from reading the article, that he might still be at Utah State, just as a student who had his scholarship taken away. And so, 9 through 5 saying, why he didn't transfer if he can still play football. And from reading it seems like he's suffered some injuries. That his final season here was cut short by injury. Maybe that's it. But I couldn't answer that question, unfortunately. But I don't know. 4781, you're saying that's fair. I think it was when I was talking about just a couple minutes ago. I said, I hope we can get to a point where people will care about what's right and standing up to wrong things instead of worrying about retaliation from the administration. I get that some people are on scholarship, but nowadays you can get a lot of public backing instantly if you stand up for yourself and others. So yeah, I think most of us are on the same page if we want to see where this is going. We don't want to take any drastic, steps against the university. Despite what, the not so great record they have, we don't want to immediately attack the university. We'd rather not attack Maddox's character. But we want to get all sides. And I think that's a good way to approach this. All right, so all that and more. There's just so much you kind of want to unpack, but you can't because it would involve making assumptions we don't want to make. But we have other Utah State stuff. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll kind of reset on the other side of this break. You've got Utah State soccer. They're actually playing right now, I believe. And they're playing a key game. We'll come back, and we'll have Jacob go over that, some of the big implications of this game going on right now. We'll be back after this on 106.9 The Fan.
Hey, it's Jackson with Mountain West Motor. We love the Cache Valley. Thank you for all of your support since we opened in February. Every one of our rigs is built for your adventure. We invite you to stop by at 615 North Main when thinking about a new rig. At Mountain West Motor, we have Ford Broncos, Ram TRXs, but also keep in mind we have great price point rigs starting at $20K. Check our website for current inventory and pricing at mwmotor.com. And for news and events, follow us on Instagram at mwmotor.co. Mountain West Motor, built for your adventure.
This is Jarek with Jarek's Fine Jewelry. This October is our 14th year anniversary. So to celebrate, we want to treat you to an anniversary date. Make it a date night on us. Come engagement ring or anniversary ring shopping at Jarek's Fine Jewelry. We have thousands of designs to choose from, including the newest custom designs. With no strings attached and no purchase necessary, we will buy your dinner at Bloom Eatery. The entire month of October, come in ring shopping and Bloom is on us. Make date night special. Make it Jarek's.
What's more important than sleep? Granted, some things are, but not many. This is Ryan at My Mattress, and here we offer the best solution to better sleep, a better mattress. IntelliBed, the gel mattress, cradles your hips and shoulders while providing the best back support possible. Or come in and choose a Tempur-Pedic that boasts 93% of their owners love their bed. My Mattress, offering the best sleep possible by the South Walmart.
Clean it up and get it out before the snow flies. Don't wait another winter. Let DD Auto and Salvage pay you for that junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it so easy and fast to get rid of your junker vehicles by paying you the most money possible. Pickup is available. If you have metal, DD Auto and Salvage in Logan wants to pay you today. Call 787-1204.
That's 787-1204 today.
See store for details.
Don't get caught without power after a windstorm or a major winter freeze. Golden Spike Electric offers Generac backup generators so you can be prepared and keep your home warm while avoiding frozen pipes. Golden Spike Electric is one of the largest Generac dealers around, so you know it'll be installed right. Whether you're a homeowner or an electrician, contact Golden Spike Electric to rest easy the next time the power goes out. Online at gsegenerators.com or call 435-257-3016. They also service other models.
I'm Matt Neverett. We're joined on the Week 9 edition of This Week in the Mountain West by Colorado State head coach Jay Norvell to highlight what he called a character win against Hawaii last week. Fresno State play-by-play man Paul Leffler stops by, and we recap Week 8 and take a look ahead to the shortened Week 9 schedule around the Mountain West Conference. It's all this week here on the Mountain West Radio Network.
Friday afternoon during the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio 106.9 FM, 1390 AM The Fan.
Join the show by calling 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press with Eric Franson and Jason Walker.
Full Court Press here on 106.9 The Fan. Jason Walker and our guest host Jacob Nielsen. He's in for Eric Franson for the day. Just finished our rather heavy discussion on allegations and lawsuits, but we want to go to something nice and fun. Utah State soccer. They're playing right now in a very big game. So Jacob, let's enlighten us on what's going on right now.
Yeah, so Utah State soccer right now is in a pivotal end of the regular season matchup. It's senior night. They're home at the Bell against Boise State. And so here's the deal. Here's how it goes with soccer in the Mountain West is there's an end of the year tournament similar to the basketball tournament, right? Except for instead of everybody getting in, only 6 teams make the Mountain West tournament. And so Utah State right now is standing at 7th in the standings at 4-3-3 with 15 points. And you know, there's been a ton of parity in the league this year because Wyoming leads the conference with 20 points. Utah State's at 7th with 15th. That's the difference of just a goal here and there.
That's just a couple of games.
Just a couple of games. Yeah, so it's been wild. But anyways, Utah State's hosting Boise State. Boise State is they're 5th right now with 16 points, right? And so Utah State, essentially how it all shakes out, they have to win this game in order to make the tournament. If they lose, their season ends. And even better for those of us who don't love our regional friends to the northwest, if Utah State wins this game, they knock Boise State out of the tournament, most likely. And so Utah State right now is up 2-0 in the second half. We're 55 minutes into the second half, 80-minute games. Sammy Murdoch scored a goal in the first half, and then right as we were on break, Rene Yonaha, that's another name I butchered. Yikes.
We had the discussion on names. That's another one.
Yeah, so anyways, Utah State is leading 2-0 in this pivotal game, and it's looking like they're going to get the win and make the Mountain West Conference tournament. So big stuff for Manny Martin's crew at the Bell, and so, yeah, looking good for women's soccer right now.
Yeah, Manny Martin's done a pretty good job. This is his second year at Utah State. So he had a big turnaround year last year, and not quite as good this year, but still solid. Looking like they're going to get into the conference tournament. Again, they still have, what is it, 20? Because they do 80-minute games, right? 40-minute halves?
Oh, I said 80 prior. I believe it's actually 90 minutes.
90-minute games?
We've both been covering some high school soccer, and that's 80 minutes. So we've been getting them confused a little bit.
Yeah, so that'll give them about a half hour to go on this game. So as long as they don't give up 2 goals, because a tie would keep them out of the tournament, right?
That's right.
So they have to win. So as long as they don't give up the 2 goals, or I guess they can give up 2 goals as long as they score another one.
That's right.
But they haven't been a super high-scoring team ever since they're hot. They had a hot start and they scored a lot of goals, and then they kind of cooled off a little bit.
Yeah, so they've been a really good defensive team. Really what they're missing is a piece in the midfield that can really put it together and deliver some offense. And that piece last year was Ashley Cardozo.
Yeah.
Right? She's one of the greatest Aggie soccer players in history. She signed a deal with a club in France and obviously graduated. And so they've been missing her production. They've had some great players like Sammy Murdoch, who got the goal in the first half. So there's just been a couple of games where, I believe, I don't have the schedule in front of me, but somebody told me they haven't lost a game by more than a goal this entire season, which is pretty incredible. So they've been competitive, but a lot of the games have not gone their way, in large part because they haven't been able to score goals. I covered one game. They were playing Colorado College, which happens to be a Mountain West team specifically for women's soccer and hockey, which is kind of odd. Anyways, they outshot Colorado College 13-2, I believe. They lost that game 1-0. So they've had a couple of tough results that haven't gone their way, but they have the talent. So if they win this game today against Boise State, like we mentioned, they're up 2-0 in the second half, then they put themselves in a chance where they could, if they can get hot, they theoretically could make a run in this tournament.
Yeah. So you were correct in that stat you listed off where they haven't lost a game by more than a goal. Yeah, they have a couple of 1-0s, a couple of 2-1s, and that's pretty much it. Great defensive team, and missing Ashley Cardozo was huge. She's one of the best, soccer. I've seen a lot of great soccer players here in the Valley, between high school and college, and she really has to be the best that I've seen live here in the Valley. Just absolutely great. Probably the only thing she was missing that kept her from being in the NWSL and whatnot is she doesn't quite have the size or speed of those pros. She was not a super fast player, but technically speaking, she was brilliant. It was like night and day how good she was on the ball.
Yeah, technically sound, just her control of the ball, and now I'm going to sound like I can speak about soccer really well. Just her control of the ball, and just she was just the glue for the entire team, and every possession, she led the team in goals, but everything that happened, every offensive rush that was created, she was involved with it. And so, yeah, maybe she didn't have the height or just the raw speed, but in terms of just technical sound soccer, she was among the best in the country at the amateur level.
Yeah, she was definitely incredible. So, yeah, we'll see if they can fill that void in the coming years. They have a lot of players from Cache Valley on that team. And so I've actually seen a lot of these players playing in high school. Busy Arevalo, London Miller. I think Murdoch was out of... I think she came from like Green Cane or something like that. I may be...
Sammy Murdoch, I believe, Ridgeline High School.
Oh, Ridgeline, okay. Yeah, it was one of those. I think there's like 7 of them.
Yeah. No,
they come from the
local
Valley.
talent for sure.
So, although Busy Revelo spent 1 year at my alma mater, Davis High. Go Darts.
Jason puts his hand over his heart when he speaks of his former high school.
Go Darts.
Which he didn't even get invited to his 10-year
I know,
reunion.
That's the contribution I made to that high school. I was just there. So that's Utah State soccer. Great things going on there. The women's programs, I mentioned this before, have made a great turnaround the last few years, and they've been really good. The gymnastics program ended up, I believe, getting ranked last year. They did lose their head coach, so we'll see if they can.
They lost their head coach, and she took just about every contributing member of that team with her to Clemson.
Yeah,
so they're having to start over a little bit.
Yeah,
with gymnastics.
So we'll see how that goes. They did bring in a coach who's got quite the pedigree because was it Amy Smith? Yeah, I was trying to remember. So I remember I always had to be careful saying Coach Smith because there was also Craig Smith at the time when I was covering some of those gymnastic things. But yeah, Amy Smith had the pedigree of being around a lot of the great programs in the country, and the incoming coach, whose name I have now forgotten. I've heard it a couple of times, but she has a similar pedigree. I don't think it's the same schools, but she's been around some of the great programs. I think it was Oklahoma was one of the teams she was involved in, either played for or competed for, I guess might be the term, but she was involved there. So hopefully things might go interesting this year. If you lose like you're in most of your contributing players, that can be hard to stomach in year one. But there's a reputation in this program that they're good, so you can maybe keep some of the recruits and then build it back up the way Amy Smith built it up.
Yeah, so the new Utah State gymnastics coach, her name is Kristen White. She was an assistant at Arizona State the past couple of years, and to Jason's point, she's been involved with several other programs, including Oklahoma and Iowa State. So someone with plenty of experience. We'll see if they can keep up some of the success that the gymnastics program had last year.
Yeah, it was a great year last year. It's been fun, being able to cover and go to some of those events because there are some really good athletes. Then obviously volleyball, they made their turnaround. This is probably one of the worst programs at Utah State for a few years. Now they're arguably the best. They won their conference last year, at least won a share of it, share of the regular season title. And they're doing solid this year. I don't think they're on the top, but
they're in 4th place right now.
Yeah,
just had a big win over the team that soccer's playing right now, Boise State.
Yeah, Boise State.
Yep.
So solid there in volleyball. So, and then soccer still going pretty solid. Football team's not living up to their expectations. So some of these women's programs they're building solid programs. So, all right, we're going to take another break. When we come back, I want to talk a little about Utah State basketball, because I want to get your opinion on some of the things. We've had conversations, me and Eric, but I want to get your opinion on some of these things. So we'll be back after this on 106.9 The Fan.
Want to set yourself apart from the competition? The Leadership MBA at Utah State University will help you lead companies and drive change in your organization. You can attend in person in Logan on Thursday evenings or take an interactive online class. Complete your MBA in as little as a year. Apply before November 1st to be considered for a January start. Contact the MBA office for a waiver of the $55 application fee. Learn more at utahstatemba.com. That's utahstatemba.com.
Advanced Heating and AC, the 2-time gold medal winner in Best in Northern Utah. They're teaming up with Carrier Heating and Cooling. Carrier provides you the best furnace units available, and now's the best time to buy a new unit before the weather turns Cache Valley cold. Financing options are available. Turn to the experts at Advanced Heating and Carrier. Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning, 752-7272, or stop by their showroom west of DI and online at advancedheating-ac.com.
We're not comfortable until you are. Advanced Heating and Air.
Alpine Home Medical has been around for over 25 years. Can you believe that? Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent. What keeps us coming to work every day? We're passionate about caring for you. From home and bathroom safety to transportation, mobility, recovery, oxygen, sleep, and more, come into any of our 10 locations today and let us take care of you. Visit us at alpinehomemedical.com.
Are you a small business owner? Who's your bank? This is Bruce Rigby. I want to invite you to bank with us at Cache Valley Bank. We specialize in helping small business, and we have great people. That's the Cache Valley Bank difference. Decisions made locally, without all the red tape, by people who care and know how to help small business. Cache Valley Bank, growing, expanding, and proud to have our roots firmly planted in Cache Valley. Cache Valley Bank, member FDIC.
This is Teresa with Chem Drive, Northern Utah. We are so excited to have won Best of Cache Valley again this year, and it's also our anniversary month, so we have lots to celebrate. We wanted to do a Customer Appreciation Month. Mention this ad while booking your October appointment and get a free world-famous spot cleaner on us. Thank you again, Cache Valley.
Chem Drive of Northern Utah. Chem Drive of Northern Utah. 435-752-6100.
If you're feeling dizzy or off balance, you're not alone. 35% of adults over 40 in the U.S. have a problem with their inner ear, and many conditions go undiagnosed and untreated. But there's hope. For more information, call 800-837-8428 or visit liferebalanced.org and discover a life rebalanced. That's 800-837-8428 or liferebalanced.org. Sponsored by the Vestibular Disorders Association.
The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Mountain West Motor has a great selection of vehicles starting around $20,000. Visit their website for current inventory and pricing, and make sure to follow them on Instagram for current promotions and events. Welcome back, Full Court Press. Jason Walker, Jacob Nielsen, in for Eric Franson. Hour and a half into the show. Time flies when you're having fun. We were just talking about Utah State soccer. They got a key game going on right now. They're up 2-0 last time we checked the score. They're now into the probably about the 69th or 70th minute. Up 2-0, so they have until the 90-minute games for college soccer. Once you get past all the high schools who play 80 minutes and the little leaguers who play like 70 minutes. But we want to talk about Utah State basketball. And so we've had conversations, me and Eric, about the basketball team, the preseason expectations. Partly because they're a little all over the place in some cases. Media poll comes out. Or I should say, me and Eric, we both did kind of our own, like, if we put in a ballot. And I put Utah State at 6th, which I thought was pushing it on the high end. I was admittedly saying this is an optimistic pick to put them at 6th, that high. Eric had them at 8th. Preseason media poll comes out, and they have Utah State at 8th, right where Eric put them. Well, the KenPom rankings come out, and based on those rankings, Utah State was the 3rd highest team. They were like ranked 68th in the country or something like that. Somewhere around there, which, was behind Boise, or I think it was Boise State, or no, it was Wyoming and San Diego State. And then there are some betting lines that we came across. And they had Utah State as the 3rd highest odds to win the conference. Possibly because maybe they were going off a little bit off of KenPom. They may have been influenced by that, may not be completely independent on their own. But still, they trusted KenPom's analysis more than the preseason media poll. So I guess my thought is, like, you think they're the 3rd best team? You think they have a chance? Or, at one point this offseason, I was not as optimistic. I've said this multiple times where I'm riding an optimistic streak where I've maybe talked myself out of some of the concerns I had, and I'm maybe brushing them off. I don't know if I have good explanations for talking myself out of those concerns, but right now I'm thinking, I'm getting more and more optimistic about this team. What are your thoughts?
Jason, this is when we know that the season's just got to start. When the Jason Walker and the opinions he's had, he's flipped through the offseason of if he thinks whether or not Utah State's going to be good, we just got to see him start playing. So the thing that I will say Like you mentioned, you had him 6th in your preseason poll. Eric had him 8th. People are upset with the 8th ranking, and I can agree with that if you look at some of the teams that were in front of Utah State, like Fresno State and New Mexico. Are those guys really, do people think they're going to be better than Utah State? That was a little surprising to me. But think about it this way. Utah State had 2 players that were second team All Mountain West Conference last year, and Brandon Horvath and Justin Bean. They finished 6th place in the conference with those 2 players, I believe. So they were 7th. They finished 7th place. Anyways, those 2 guys graduated, right? So ignore the transfers that have come in, ignore the development, the return of the guards. If you just look and say, okay, the 2 best players from Utah State's team that finished 7th in the conference last year are no longer there. They're gonna be slightly worse, just looking at that on paper. I think they're gonna do better than what they finished in conference last year. I don't think they're gonna win the conference. I think they're gonna be better than 7th. I think they're gonna be better than 8th, the preseason poll. But it makes sense just purely looking at the subtractions that they had this offseason. Yeah, it's a fair assessment.
Yeah, and that's why I wasn't surprised too much by the 8th. For me, putting him at 6 was me feeling like I'd had a good analysis of this team and maybe ways they can overcome that. Because, my concern was basically, as you just explained, where they lose their 2 best players, they lose basically the offensive engine they had, or the people that were driving the offensive engine. Where Justin Bean was scoring, Horvath was, really good in the post at manufacturing points. And so who on this offense was going to manufacture points? I've talked myself into being a big Max Shulga believer. I very much believe he could come in and be the guy who drives the offensive engine, although I'm thinking it's not going to happen because I'm not sure Shulga's even going to be allowed to start. I feel like Coach Oda may go with RJ Idlerock and Sean Bairstow on the wing. I talked earlier on one of the shows this week about I was talking about how maybe Sean Bairstow could maybe make a jump similar to what Justin Bean did, where he went from averaging 11 points for a couple of years. He then averaged 17 points. Now, threw all these numbers together saying, hey, there's a chance that Sean Bairstow could make a similar jump. I don't believe he'll make that jump, but I postulate that it's within the realm of possibility. It could happen just based off of an increase in volume. So that's what let Justin Bean score more, is he had an increase in volume and also a huge jump in three-point shooting. But, we'll see that. So I think there are ways in that this team could make a jump if Shulga and Bairstow both kind of make small jumps individually. And if Taylor Funk comes in and plays really well, if Dan Akin comes in and plays well, then there's a chance they could be a surprise. And for me, a surprise would be they finish 3rd or 4th. Finishing 6th to 8th, that's about where I expect them to be. But there's a chance if the pieces fall into place and certain players make a jump, they can get much better this season, or at least slightly better.
So I think that the team may have improved itself on the defensive side of the ball. And because of that, that's my greatest point of optimism with them. You lose Justin Bean, best rebounder on the team, was the leading scorer on the team, even though for most of his career, he was never really seen as that offensive playmaker, just more of the glue guy that got the boards. But he, to your point, was able to transform his game. You lose him, yes, but something that Ryan Odom talked about during the Mountain West Media Days last week was, hey, we added Dan Akin, we added some of these guys, and we wanted a little bit more length and physicality on the defensive end. That's something that was talked about a little bit. And from what we've heard, I have not had opportunity to see the team practice yet, but from what we've heard, Dan Akin, former UMBC forward, right, that comes to Utah State via Cal Baptist. He's somebody who maybe has a little bit more of that. He doesn't have the same size as Brandon Horvath, but maybe a little bit more physical than he is. And then you got Taylor Funk coming in from St. Joseph's, who is similar to Brandon Horvath in the sense that he's a 3-and-D type of guy, but there's a little bit more on the emphasis on the D part of that 3-and-D. Yeah. And he's also somebody that can rebound. I thought that Brandon Horvath last year, for as great as he was for the team in certain facets, thought he was a little soft, a little in stretches where we needed to see grit from that Aggie team, especially so many of these losses they had last year come down to the final possessions. You need personnel that can make big stops on those final possessions. We did not see that from last year's team, including guys like Brandon Horvath. And so maybe Taylor Funk and Dan Atkin, throwing them into the front court, can provide a little bit more disruption, and perhaps maybe they get a few more stops on possessions than they did last season.
Yeah, perhaps. And I know Odom has been glowing in his reviews of Atkins' defensive versatility. He claims he can switch 1 through 5. That might be a little dubious, but I have no reason to disbelieve him. I think at least 2 through 5 seems likely, just looking at his athleticism, his profile. He's a 6'9" center. That's the role he's going to play. He's probably going to be the starting center, so not great length at the center position. But I think versatility, and that's what makes me think Utah State can be good defensively, is versatility and length. As you kind of mentioned, length. Let's go with the starting lineup that I'd like to see. I don't know if it'll be the one that happens, but you have Rylan Jones out there, who's kind of a pest on defense. Let's say you have Max Schulga out there as well, who's, again, he's active on defense, and he's 6'4", good length for the 2-guard. Sean Bairstow at 6'8", 6'7", 6'8", depending on who you ask and how tall his shoes are. Good length, not a super great defensive guy, but he's got quickness, he's got length. Taylor Funk, he can pull his weight on defense. He's also 6'8", so he's still got length at that 4 spot. And then Atkin, not great length, but again, versatility. So there's length at a few positions. Power forward, small forward, and shooting guard are kind of nominally those positions. I know we're all going with positionless basketball and whatnot, but that's kind of what the roles they'd be playing. And you have good length there, and you have active players. Like you could see Schulga and Atkin, if they reach their highest potential, they're guys who could push for an all-defensive team. I think Atkin at least. Schulga may be on the fringe there. But Atkin could be an all-defensive guy. And if you have other guys who are playing good on defense, like Jones, again, he's physical and he's a bulldog, even though he's only 6 foot flat. He's good on defense. And Schulga can be the same way, and Bairstow can definitely pull his weight and maybe be a plus defender. And the same with Funk. So this could be a really good defensive team. And that is where a lot of my own optimism lies, just kind of think like what you said. Well, there's optimism that this team can be good on defense, maybe even great, borderline elite, maybe elite in relative to the conference. And if you have that, the margin for error with some of the offensive players gets a little wider, and it helps them out. So, sorry, I should have shut your mic off there. So I think I have growing optimism of this team. I don't know if it's justified, but I kind of want it to be, because I'm seeing things where there's a possibility, and maybe that's what I'm grasping at, the possibility I'm seeing. And I understand that it's only a possibility. It's not a guarantee. But I want to grasp at that and say, all right, I want this to happen. And, like I said, if it does happen, this is going to be a good team. But things have to fall in place, in ways where there's no guarantees. There's no guarantees that certain players are going to step up. There's no guarantees that certain players are going to fit in. So it's difficult for me to say that Utah State's going to be good, even though I kind of want them to be.
Yeah, there's one thing you alluded to that I wanted to touch upon. But first of all, the guard play, Ryan Odom, it's got to be the coaching staff's biggest job in the non-conference, is to really figure out an ideal rotation and with the backcourt guys, and who is going to help Utah State of the guards win the most games. And I'm kind of with you. I love Max Schulga. From what we've seen from him, especially last year, he's the best guard defender. Stephen Ashworth is a stingy defender, but he doesn't have quite the same length as Schulga does. And I think Schulga is capable of producing offensively too. We just haven't seen him in consistent stretches, I feel like, really be able to do that. But I think the key for Utah State offensively, something that you alluded to earlier, is Sean Bairstow, because I think he's the guy with the most tools to create for himself, right? Because that's something we talked about last year, along with some of the defensive failures, but it was a team that could move the ball well. Ryan Odom loved to talk about their assist to field goal percentage ratio, right? But There were games where you just needed a dude to go and get a bucket, and it felt like they didn't have that. And I think that Sean Bairstow is the guy that is most equipped for that, being at 6'8", 6'7", give or take, as the guard, a guy that can beat guys off the dribble, but more so, he's somebody that can back down defenders and have turnarounds, and he can go to the hole aggressively. But here's the thing with Sean Bairstow that is really the key, is his three-point shooting, right? That's really going to be a big storyline for the Utah State offense this year. If they're to produce at the level they need to get into that top 3 echelon of the conference, they need Sean Bairstow to be a 15-point per game, 16, 17-point per game scorer that can score in the clutch minutes. But if he can't shoot from 3, that's going to be tough because guys can back off of him. He can't get to the rim as well. And you look at his numbers, and this is a little bit concerning because when the sample size was smaller, he shot better. The 2020 to 21 season, his sophomore year, he was 10 of 26 from three-point range. That's 38.5%. That'll get the job done. But only 26 shots throughout the entire season. 2021 to 2022, he was 6 of 48, 12.5% from beyond the arc.
Yeah, like I was saying, like if I went out there and shot 3-pointers, that's about what I would shoot. 6 of 48, if I was lucky from that college line. Not a good 3-point shooter. And so, yeah, the fact that it was frustrating because he's confidently taking them where he's shooting like 2 or 3 a game almost. And he's just not making them. He has all the confidence in it. It's like Brock Miller. Brock Miller had the confidence to shoot 7 threes a game and only make 1 or 2 of them.
Brock Miller, he has never lacked confidence. That's something he's never been lacking in.
So, and Bairstow had that same confidence. And it's probably a good thing that he has that. Because maybe this year, if he gets that confidence back, and if he shoots, like, you combine his first 2 years on what was the small sample size for both those years. I think if you combine the first 2 years, it's almost the same number of threes as last year, just alone. And if you combine those first 2 years, he's at 36%. If he hits that, that's fine. Like, college average is like 33, 34%, I think. In the NBA, the average is like 35. So if he can hit, college average, great. It helps him, and it especially helps his slashing game, which I tell you, the improvement he's made as far as being a slasher is stunning. He went from a guy who was like almost scared to finish at the rim to last year, he's among the best in the country at finishing last year. Like 91st percentile in finishing at the rim. Crazy good. So now he needs to add that, 3-point shot, as you mentioned. So, all right, we're going to cut to another break. We'll have our final segment here. We'll wrap up the show. Jason Walker here with Jacob Nielsen. We'll be back after this on 106.9 The Fan.
Fall is in the air and it's getting colder. Make sure your vehicle is well maintained. Valvoline Instant Oil Change in Logan across from Angie's can help. As the weather turns colder, your car needs more babying and an oil change is easy. They'll change your oil and also check other fluid levels and replace your air filters if needed. The best thing, you can stay in your car while their trained professionals service your vehicle. Valvoline Instant Oil Change, 695 North Main, open 7 days a week.
You're first and goal at the 10-yard line with seconds left on the clock. Your running back is poised for the game-winning touchdown, but before you can make the snap, the opposing team just takes the ball and locks it in a safe, and they won't give you the combination unless you pay them $10,000. That's exactly how ransomware works. And in 2021, 2 out of every 3 organizations fell victim to ransomware attacks. Protect your business with Les Olson Security Suite from Les Olson IT. Learn more at lesolson.com.
Aegis Home Health and Hospice loves helping the people they serve. Aegis is a home health and hospice organization that lives by core values of character, experience, and trust. Every day, Aegis' goal is to help you with whatever your healthcare needs are and to do it wherever you need us to. Aegis, A-E-G-I-S. Aegis Home Health and Hospice. Call 723-9000 or find them at myaegis.com.
The Young Automotive Group is proud to announce Young Truck and Trailer Center in Cache Valley. Whether it's heavy equipment trailers, horse trailers, race car trailers, or cargo and utility trailers, we're excited to offer some of the finest trailers and flatbed work trucks to Cache Valley. Our team of experts look forward to helping you find the right truck or trailer to fit your needs, with competitive prices offered on every make and model for sale on our lot. With our extensive inventory, you'll find the best deals right here in Cache Valley. Young Truck and Trailer Center, just off Highway 89 in Logan. Think young, drive young.
Hey, that's one nice new bike, Josie.
Yeah, birthday present. Rides really smooth, too. Oh, and I see you finally got a new helmet.
I did. Bought it cheap online.
Love those side wings.
Hey, are you hungry?
Yeah, I'm starving. And need some water, too.
Okay, follow me. We'll turn off here.
I'm right behind you.
Hey, watch the cars. They can be crazy.
Teddy! No! Are you okay? Teddy! Somebody do something!
I called 911. They should be here soon.
Was this young man hit by a car?
Yes, and I'm concerned because his helmet is smashed and cracked open.
It's a brand new helmet.
It's probably a fake.
Please help him.
Fakes cause real harm. You're smart. Buy smart.
Go for real.
Brought to you by the National Crime Prevention Council and the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office.
The Aggies, the Jazz, the high schools, the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Final segment here on the Full Court Press. Jason Walker with you here. Our guest host Jacob Nielsen has been with us all show long, so thank him for coming on, filling in for Eric Franson, providing his analysis, all his experience with the Utah Statesman, KSL, and Herald Journal. Following a similar role I took where I just kept bouncing around different outlets. So then I finally settled here. This is like the probably 6th or 7th different media outlet I've worked for in some capacity. So, I'm not saying you should follow in my footsteps. Just saying there's hope for you. He does a great job, so we're glad to have him on. Although, we were going to talk about Major League Baseball. We kind of got distracted. I don't know, maybe we can talk about it here really quick at the end, because I know you brought it up as something you wanted to talk about. So, Phillies and Astros.
Phillies and Astros.
Yeah, gearing up for it. I guess who would you pick out of those two? Astros seem to be the heavy favorite, but the Phillies have not been stopped by being the underdog so far.
No, it's going to be an interesting World Series, and it starts tomorrow, right? And here's the thing: is the Astros, since the cheating scandal, they have been so good still, which is so aggravating because you want them to burn, you want them to fail. And me, I have some biases because I'm a Texas Rangers fan. That's my team. So I knew that the Astros were dirty cheaters even before that was the thing.
Of course.
But they have such a loaded roster. And again, this year, they're undefeated in the postseason. But to your point, the Phillies have looked like lightning in a bottle with Bryce Harper, how he has performed, especially in the NLCS. He was batting .400. He hits that opposite field 2-run home run to go up against the Padres and ultimately clinch the pennant. And so if there's going to be a team that has to face an Astros team that hasn't lost in the postseason, might as well be a team with a lot of star power, and they also got some decent pitching depth. So I'm excited for the series. Once again, going to be cheering for the Astros' demise. They've lost to 2 National League East teams in the World Series. The past 2 times they've made the World Series, they lost in 7 games to the Nationals, then in 5 or 6 last year to the Braves. So now it's Philadelphia's turn to take it to the Stros. So yeah, I know, Jason, you're going to be just on pins and needles. Like your whole day is going to be cleared tomorrow to watch the World Series, isn't it?
Not tomorrow. Well, I mean, it depends. When does it start?
Probably prime time. I just know the baseball love that you have in your soul, and it's just what you look forward to. It's what you live for. Is October.
Okay. Yeah, I do actually. I'll turn on World Series. I know one time I watched several of the World Series games. That was, or maybe it was, the championship, the semifinals, because I had a roommate once who was a Cleveland, I guess at the time Cleveland Indians fan, now the Guardians. But I think that Cleveland had made it into the Championship League Series. We have one text in, 4781 says Astros in 4. So clearly got an Astros person in. Yeah. 471 also take another jab at you. Says, I'm surprised you pronounce Astros correctly, Jake.
Hey, thanks for sticking around.
Yeah.
The full 2 hours.
He did a good job. He improved after Mark Cannon. Yeah, and he saw the game starts at 6:03, I guess. It's rather specific. 8968. Texan says, I agree, Jason. Go Darts. I do have a problem with this, though, and I'm praying that this is like a text-to-speech failure, but you spelled Jason wrong. Like, almost unforgivable sin wrong.
I've seen people spell that name like that.
I have a problem with putting a Y in Jason. And I hope people understand, like, it's my name. It's a pretty easy name to spell. That's why I don't like Jason Tatum. Don't like him.
Just because he spells his name wrong.
Yeah, and the problem is it's not his fault, it's his parents' fault. His parents are the ones who are bad. But anyway, that'll do it for us here on the show. Tune in tomorrow for more Full Court Press here on 106.9 The Fan. Thanks for joining us, everybody.